pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 1 on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
I move for approval of the agenda as presented.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Report on the closed session.
The board did meet in closed session to confer with its special counsel on regular agenda item number 5, and no action was taken in closed session. I'm going to relinquish my seat to Maggie Stern when you get through the consent agenda so that she has access to the microphone.
All right. Next item is the consent agenda, consideration of Resolution 1611-01, authorizing WSAFCA General Manager to enter into a land lease arrangement with the state.
I'd move for approval of the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that the consent agenda be approved as published. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Consideration of approval of plans and specifications, rejections of bids, and awards of construction contract in the Southport Levee Implementation Program. We have some speakers.
Toby,
You got Toby first.
Oh, no, you're going to talk first, that's right. Thank you.
President Denton and members of the board, Toby Wong, Supervising Civil Engineer. I'm here to present this item. And we're here to seek approval of the plans and specifications and award of a construction contract for the Southport Levee Improvement Project. WSAFCA has been aggressively engaged in an overall flood risk reduction program called the WSAFCA Levee Improvement Program. Objective of the program is basically to obtain minimum of 200-year flood protection for the city by improving the levee that protects the city. The Southport Levee Improvement Project will implement flood risk measures along one of the riskiest vulnerable levee segments along the Sacramento River in the Southport area, just south of the Barge Canal to the southern city limits. The project will bring the levee up to both federal and state levee design standards. The project was broken into 2 separate phases. The first phase, which was completed this past summer, was basically the road relocation and utility relocation. Utility relocation is ongoing and should be completed at the beginning of next year. The second phase, which is the current project, the Southport Levee Improvement Project, is the levee improvement project, which constructs about 5.5 miles of flood protection features, which includes a setback levee, fix-in-place levee, seepage berms, and associated improvements. The project design was completed last summer. The project was put out to bid in September, early September. The bids were open on November 3rd, and we received 5 bids. The lowest bid was from AECom Energy and Construction Incorporated for a little under $50 million. Subsequent to the bid, we received 3 timely protests from 3 bidders: Kiewit, Infrastructure West, Nordic Industries, and Tykert Great Lakes Joint Venture. Staff and legal counsel has reviewed the protest and subsequent responses and finds that the protest does not establish a basis of finding AEC is not a responsive and responsible bidder, and the evaluation that was included as part of the staff report that you reviewed. The state contract license board has confirmed that AECom holds the proper license to legally perform the work under this contract, and the license is current and in good standing. Staff has reviewed the experience and qualifications submitted with a proposal and confirmed by reference checks to these projects, and confirmed that AECom has the capability and experience to complete a levee improvement project similar to the Southport Levee Improvement Project. The project construction team also includes 2 subcontractors doing slurry cut-off wall work, which is Rado and Inquip and Associates. Staff is here to request the board to basically approve the plan specification, reject the bid protest that's been submitted, and award the construction contract to the lowest and responsive bidder, AECom Energy and Construction Incorporated. That concludes my presentation, and be happy to take any questions. We also have legal staff to help evaluate the bid protest for the project.
Do you have any questions?
Not this time, no.
Do you have any questions? We don't have any questions at this time. We do have people who want to talk on the subject. Is Mr. Dan Baxter from Tigert.
Thank you very much, members of the board. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. And first of all, I'm struggling with my voice. I'm a little bit under the weather, so hold that against me, but not my client, if you would.
One other thing
Yes.
I'd like to point out, we have a 3-minute time limit on
Okay.
talking. And we recognize we've received all of your information and et cetera, so.
Okay, and I will honor that. Members, there is one clear path that needs to be followed here, and that path is to reject the bid of AECom. You're going to hear from some of my colleagues from the other bidders talking about responsibility defects. We need not reach those defects because the fact of the matter is that a responsive bid has not been submitted by AECom. The clear bid specifications, number 2-6, calls for all bidders to submit statements of qualification for all subcontractors. Simply put, AECom did not do that. Now, you've been provided with a legal analysis from my colleague, Ms. Stern, and her group. It's well thought out, but it's incorrect. There is no room for interpretation, an interpretation under which the clear black and white verbiage of Section 2-6 is waived. When Ms. Stern and her colleagues conclude that the addendum somehow operates to relieve contractors of their obligations to list all subcontractors' statements of qualification, that is an error. The addendum makes no reference to any such waiver. The addendum, by its own terms and by its own name, which is a supplemental statement of qualifications, calls for additional information to be submitted by the contractor as to certain categories of subcontractor. It does not operate as a modification of the baseline requirement in Section 2-6. It does not operate to waive the requirements of Section 2-6, which then brings you to the issue of you've got clear noncompliance. Second issue is, can it be waived? It cannot be waived. This is not a discretionary call that is reviewed with a standard of deference towards the agency. It is a black and white legal issue. When you've got a situation where the requirement at issue operates to reap an unfair advantage to the submitting bidder, which is exactly what would be reaped by AECom in this case, that is a defect that is unwaivable. It is not subject to the discretion. It is not an issue where you can simply say, well, it's a small deviation from the specifications, so therefore we're going to just allow it. An unfair advantage is not a small defect, and the case law that we cited in the letter that we submitted yesterday makes clear that such is the case. All of this would be reviewed, to throw some Latin at you, on a de novo standard, which means that your call would be given no deference. A court would review it independently and would come to the conclusion that we've come to, which is the AECom bid is not responsive, it is defective on its face. We won't reach this issue today, but the Nordic and Kiewit bids suffer from the same problems. The lowest responsive and responsive bid, and the only path you should follow, is the one that awards the project to Tykert and Great Lakes. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Steve Richards of AECom.
Good afternoon. My name is Giovanni Rusciti. I'm outside counsel to AECom. Mr. Richards and I both signed up to speak, but we were only going to do so at the end or if the council had any questions for us. I'd like to hear all of the comments first before we take our opportunity to speak.
That's all there is.
Oh, that's all there is?
Yeah.
Well, then, if I might, I will.
You or Steve.
I will briefly address Tykert's comments that we just heard. Council mentioned that there was a letter submitted yesterday. We did not receive that letter, so I don't have the benefit of responding to it. However, I do want to point out a couple things that are stated in our response, and that is Section 2.6 of the general specifications did provide for listing of certain types of experience. However, the addendum 1, and specifically Form 26A, made it very clear that that experience was only required of certain major subcontractors. And as Ms. Stern noted in her analysis, Tykert is aware of that because in a submission that they made to this very agency, they followed the same approach last year. But more importantly, even if that addendum wasn't a modification of the specifications, this council can accept a minor deviation from the specifications as long as it's not consequential. In other words, if it's an inconsequential deviation or modification that has no effect on competition or on price, those types of deviations are routinely accepted because you don't have to have strict compliance with bid documents. That would be almost impossible and difficult to follow. So the law in California is very clear. You can have minor deviations as long as they're not consequential, and the definition of inconsequential is effect on price, effect on competition, and we've cited our case law in our papers. And here, there's no evidence, zero evidence of impact on competition or on price. In fact, the evidence is to the contrary. 3 contractors at issue are Selby, Granite, and All Steel Fence. Well, with respect to Selby, 4 of the 5 proposals, we're planning on using them as a subcontractor. With respect to Granite, 3 of the 5, and with respect to All Steel Fence, all 5. So I think it would strain credibility to make an argument of unfair competition, of effect on price when everyone was using the same contractor. So unless the council has any questions, I have nothing further to add unless Mr. Richards does.
Just a comment. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today, and we certainly look forward to working with you in the future. I think that you'll find us to be the quality partner that you're looking for, and the exciting project they have in front of you is something that we want to get on with. We think the schedule is huge, and that once we start, you'll see us finish timely and meet your December 31st, 2018 requirements. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll take a vote on
Any discussion?
this contract at this time. Unless our staff has any response.
No, the staff has no response.
Any comments, Bill?
All those in favor of consideration,
Do you have any comments, Bill, or? If anybody had any comments, if anybody had any comments, discussion.
does anybody have any comments on the discussion that we're going to have? Okay. We're going to take a consideration of approval of the plans and specifications.
Bill, can I make a comment?
Sure.
Yeah, I just would like to say a few words, and first and foremost, I want to thank all of the bidders that spent the time and effort to put forth a bid on this project. I know that's what business you're in, is putting through the time, but you have limited resources and time, and we appreciate you putting forth the effort to put in the bid for this important project, at least from our aspect. And I think that's a testimony then, you know, the fact that we did have 5 very qualified bidders, a testament to our staff and our consultants and all the work that they put forward, putting together the project, all the research that was done, and the plans and specs. So with that respect, thank you very, very much. But based on all that I've heard and read and seen staff recommendation, I'm inclined to go forward with this awarding this bid at this time. It's a really important project to West Sacramento, and it's only one of many that will be coming in the future, but it's critical, I think, that we move forward, and for public safety, for the economic benefit of West Sacramento. There's many reasons why, you know, doing this project now is important, and I think that the recommendation the staff has made is a sound one, and I would like to make the motion that we do the recommended actions, which are the approval of plans and specs, the rejection of the bid protests, the award of the construction contract to the lowest responsible bidder, AECom Energy and Construction, Inc., grant the general manager the authority for contract changes, and authorize the allocation to work order 41164.
I'll second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded that the motion as presented by Tom be accepted in the contract. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
I'd like to make a comment, too. I mean, I, too, would really like to thank staff and all of the people involved with WSAFCA. This is probably the most important project that the city, WSAFCA, have ever undertaken. I know it's the most expensive, and it's probably one of the most needed. If you look at West Sacramento, we're sort of like a bathtub. We're surrounded by water. And so we have had to make some very quick, difficult decisions in the past to get to this point. In the flood protection game, I guess it's sort of fair to say that it's sort of frustrating sometimes because going through the Corps, going through all of the different federal agencies, all the different state agencies, it just takes a long time. And I am so happy that we are finally, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. And this is going to be a very, very important project for the city of West Sacramento. And I, for one, am glad that I have been part of it. It hasn't always been easy, but at the same time, it's a project that is definitely really needed. And so I think that RD 900, 537, and the city of West Sacramento have put together an alliance that has really done its job. And we've done what we're supposed to do. We're trying to protect the public. We've got 55,000 people that now live in our city. When we started this project, we had about 25. And so we have grown. And at the same time, those growing pains, they bring up deficiencies every once in a while. And we had a major deficiency, and that was flood protection. We saw what happened at Katrina, and we knew that here in West Sacramento in the state of California, could not allow that to happen. It would just devastate us. And so we undertook a number of propositions. The people bonded against themselves on an assessment district on their taxes. We put some things in place from a developer perspective so that fees could go towards levee work. And we've done, I think, all of the right things to put forth the issues that really helped West Sacramento move forward, and especially today. This is a big day for West Sacramento. I mean, huge. And it's something I'm very proud of. Thank you.
I'll close with some comments, and we have received and reviewed, and believe it or not, I read every single page of the information that was sent in, every single page. We had an opportunity to discuss these with our attorneys, our engineers, and everything, and we, that's how we arrived at the solution of the selection. And I know it's not what some people would like to see, but it's the best that we could do. And I am with Bill. I think that this is a very proud moment for us. I've been with the Reclamation District 900 for over 40 years. So I can tell you about floods and stuff like that, and this is very, very important to us. So with that in mind, I thank you for the bids and for everything that you've done for us. There'll be no further comments. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, my friend.
I don't think we need anything else. How you doing? That's big.
I mean, this is, people don't understand it, but I mean, this is just